In the name of Allah, the most compassionate and the most merciful, and may the peace and mercy of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and mercy of Allah be upon you all. This is an episode entitled Understanding the Human Brain from the Guidance of the Quran, and it's in a series entitled The Quran in Practice. So brothers and sisters, I will show, Allah God willing, in this episode how to understand the human brain from the guidance of the Noble Quran. And understanding the human brain is something that modern medicine and biomedical engineering have failed to do. There is no comprehensive understanding for the human brain and how it functions. So how can we learn the human brain from the guidance of the last revelation of Allah God to people, the Noble Quran? Now, to start with a verse in chapter 51 in the Noble Quran, verse 7, which states, "And the heaven containing weaved ropes." This is a verse of the Noble Quran. This is a translation of a verse that Allah God Almighty states here that the heaven contains weaved ropes. The heaven is the volume surrounding a central object. Let's take, for example, the volume surrounding the earth, the space that we live in. Allah states that it contains weaved ropes. If we think, for example, about gravitational energy, we see that when we are on the earth, we feel a pulling action on our bodies towards the earth. And the best description for this is that if they were kind of ropes pulling us downwards. Now these ropes, Allah Almighty states that the heaven and the space we are living in, it contains weaved ropes. So Allah Almighty teaches us that the basic unit of energy, the basic unit of gravitational energy is 3 strings weaved together, a weaved rope. So the basic unit of energy, once more, the basic unit of energy, of gravitational energy, is composed of 3 strings weaved together. And these strings, they produce a pulling action on the object on its ends. And this is something that modern physics, they failed to know what is the basic unit of energy. Allah teaches us that the basic unit of energy is a weaved rope, 3 strings weaved together. And since the methodology of Allah Almighty creation is the same, this means that all forms of energy are composed of weaved strings. So the basic unit of all forms of energy is a weaved rope. Also, Allah Almighty teaches us another fact about these ropes, about these basic units of energy. In the Noble Quran, in chapter 41, verse 39, which states, "And among His signs that you see the earth barren, and when Allah Almighty sends down rain, it vibrates and it grows." So here Allah Almighty states that for something to be alive, it needs to vibrate. So we can conclude from this that anything that's living, there is movement, there is action, it needs to be in a vibratory state. So these weaved ropes, they are not static, they are vibrating. And these vibrations, they produce their function. When they vibrate, they produce this gravitational pull. Now, how can we apply this to understand the human brain? Now, Allah Almighty urges us in the Noble Quran to think about our body, to ponder and reflect upon the human body, because it's a textbook in optimal engineering. Since Allah Almighty perfected everything He created, so when you think about your body, Allah gives you a textbook in optimal engineering, how to design systems in an optimal way. So if we think about our senses, we have 5 senses, which is vision, hearing, smell, the sense of smell, taste, and touch. So the 5 senses again: hearing, vision, the sense of smell, taste, and feeling, touch. Now, if we think about these senses, if we take, for example, vision, the eye. Now, the incident energy on the eye is light energy, and light is composed of electromagnetic field. And Allah teaches us that the basic unit, vibrating strings. When these vibrating strings, the vibrating ropes, they fall on the eye, Allah Almighty designed sensors in the eye that transform this energy from one form to another. So the sensors, they take this energy and they are transformed into an electromagnetic signal, a neural signal that's transferred in the nerves to the brain. So the sense, the vision, the eye, it converts light energy, electromagnetic energy, into an electromagnetic field in the human brain, in the vision cortex of the brain. So once again, the function, and we can learn from the Quran that the function of the senses is to convert energy in the form of light, sound energy, into an electromagnetic field in the human brain. Because the nerves, there's an electromagnetic field, it's like a current moving in the nerves. And this current produces electrical field and a magnetic field. And this current ends up in the brain, in the different parts of the brain. So the part responsible for vision, this picture that you saw, is converted into electromagnetic fields in the vision cortex, in the vision part of the brain. Another example, if in this picture that you saw, there is somebody talking to you, so the sound is like a mechanical vibrations in the air. So Allah Almighty designed sensors in the human ear that can convert this mechanical vibration into an electromagnetic field in the human brain. So the function of the ear is to convert mechanical vibrations into an electric current, ionic current, moving into the nerves and ends up in the brain in a form of electromagnetic field in the auditory cortex, auditory part of the brain. Likewise, smell, the act of smell. Now, how can you smell objects? When the object they produce their odor, it's composed of atoms. Now these atoms, they are vibrating. Again, the Quranic verse, it vibrates and grows. So when they enter your nose, there are Allah Almighty designed sensors in the nose that can convert these vibrations of these molecules into an electromagnetic signal traveling into nerve and ending in the human brain. So you can distinguish between the smell, for example, of perfume and the smell of onion by the different vibration of the molecules they produce. So we see the Noble Quran, it vibrates and grows, the active vibration, essential for life. Another, for example, taste. How you can distinguish between sweet and sour by the vibration of these atoms of the molecules when they fall on the tongue. The tongue, there are sensors on the tongue that they can convert from this vibration, mechanical vibration of these atoms into electromagnetic signal traveling to the brain. So we end up, brothers and sisters, that the human brain is a conversion tool. It converts from the forms of energy around us, from the senses, into an electromagnetic field. So the end result is that there is an electromagnetic field produced in the brain from the senses. So the function of the human brain is not to think or to store memory. It's just a conversion tool. It converts the signal from the senses into electromagnetic field. So the first part of this lecture is that we end up that the human brain, there is an electromagnetic field around the brain produced within the brain, produced by the senses, input by the senses. This is the first part. The second part of the lecture is to understand the soul. Allah states in the Quran in chapter 24 verse 35, Allah, God, is the light of the heavens and the earth. So let's consider this. Allah states in this Quran verse, Allah is the light of the heaven and the earth. Allah God Almighty is light. So there is another verse in the Quran that Allah states that He created Adam, peace upon him, and He put in him from his soul. Once again, Allah God Almighty created Adam, peace upon him, and put in him from his soul. So since Allah God Almighty is light, so when He put in Adam, peace upon him, from his soul, then the soul is light. So we can conclude from this that the soul of a person is an electromagnetic field that Allah God Almighty places in the body. Let me give you an example to demonstrate this point. Imagine that you have a room containing motors, light, bulbs, etc. Now without an electromagnetic field to activate it, it's dead. Likewise, the human body without the soul is dead, because you have the brain, the heart, but without the electromagnetic field to activate the body, it's dead. So we conclude from this that the soul is an electromagnetic field that has a certain shape that Allah integrates in the human body. And as you can see on the screen, this is a computer generated picture of the soul of the human body. And this is completely derived from the Holy Quran, from the guidance of Allah God Almighty in the last revelation of Allah God to people. So this is the electromagnetic field that Allah integrates in the human body. So we have now in the brain two fields, the one produced from the senses and the one from the soul. So there are two different fields, one produced from the conversion of various forms of energy from the senses into electromagnetic field in the brain, and the one from the soul. So we have two fields. Now we know, if we think about this, and you saw the picture in front of you, that if we have a single source of electromagnetic field, like the picture you see on the right, it's a single source. It has a certain magnetic field. If you put another source near to it, then you see that the electromagnetic field of one will affect the other. So if you have put two sources of electromagnetic energy, then they will affect each other, and they will change their architecture. So that one of the fields, and they will both be changed. And this is the way information is stored. For example, if we take a cassette tape or a video tape, how you can put picture and sound on that tape? Now the thing is that, take for a video cassette, for example, a video tape, there is like magnetic particles on the surface, for example iron particles. So they have the certain magnetic field architecture. Now how you can store image and sound is that you produce an external magnetic field that changes the architecture of these kind of the architecture of the iron atoms and their magnetic field. And this change, it's like a memory that puts the image and the sound on the tape. Again, think about videotapes and how information is stored on these tapes. The way is that they have a strip, which is the kind of tape, and they put iron particles on that tape, and magnetic particles. Now these particles, they produce their kind of intrinsic magnetic field. They have a certain magnetic field of their own. The way you store information is that you produce an external magnetic field that changes the architecture of this field, and thus you put image and sound on that tape. Likewise, the human soul. Now the electromagnetic field produced from the senses in the brain, it changes the architecture of the electromagnetic field of the human soul. Again, the electromagnetic field produced in the brain from the senses, it changes the electromagnetic field of the soul, the architecture. And this change is the memory of the soul. So when you change the electromagnetic energy or the field of the human soul, it stores information. For example, the picture that you saw, it's changed in your brain in a form of electromagnetic field, and it changes the architecture of your soul. So it's printed as an image. And the sound also is an electromagnetic field. It changes the architecture of your soul, so it saves as sound. So this is memory. The electromagnetic field of the brain changes the architecture of the electromagnetic field of the soul, and it's like memory. To illustrate this point further, let's look at this following table. Say for example, you are asked, what is the answer of 1 plus 1? Now this question is like an input for your soul, and it's from the sense of smell and vision. Now you are told that the answer is 2. So it's like this information that when you are asked in the form of vision and hearing. Now it produces electromagnetic field in the brain, and the answer also produces electromagnetic field, and this is saved on your soul. So this is, it's like if you think about it, it's like a computer, it's like a file. So file 1 contains information 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Another file, for example, you are asked, what is the name of the Creator? And when you look in the Noble Quran, you see that the name is Allah. So file number 2 is what's the name of the Creator and the answer. So you see that it's like if you give the analogy to computers, it's like a file in the memory, file 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you are asked in the future, you access these files and then you save them. So, brothers and sisters, we see that the function of the brain is to convert one form of energy to another to produce in the final result an electromagnetic field. So the soul is the memory is found in the soul. You access the soul. So the soul is the object that thinks, that memorizes information. It is the object that stores information, accesses information, links things together. So here we come to a very important conclusion, is that from the Noble Quran, the object that thinks and links and analyzes is the soul, this electromagnetic field that Allah placed in the body. The brain does not contain memory, it's just a conversion tool. And this links to, in the Noble Quran, Allah Almighty states, do not they ponder upon the Quran, or are their hearts locked up? Or are their hearts locked up? So we see in the Noble Quran, Allah Almighty addresses the heart. He does not address the brain. Allah in the Noble Quran does not address the brain. So we see the truthfulness of the statement, that the brain does not contain information, does not analyze matters. So when Allah addresses people for them to comprehend matters, to realize the truthfulness of the Quran, He addresses the heart. So why the heart? If we look at the picture showing the electromagnetic field of the brain, the electromagnetic field of the soul, we see that the electromagnetic field of the soul is distributed in the way that you see on the screen. Now, the heart of an object is the place where the amount of energy and matter on the left is equal to the right, above it, below it. So the center of an object, the heart, when Allah says in the Quran, or are their hearts locked up, the heart is the center of an object, and the center is the place where there's symmetry in the object. The amount of matter on top of it, above it, is equal to the one below it, on the right equal to the left. Likewise, the amount of energy above is equal to the below, on the left is equal to the right. Now if we look at this picture, we see that the center of the human body is like near the chest region. Why the chest? Because in the chest region, the amount of energy of the soul on the right is equal to the left. But we see that the energy of the soul is a little bit concentrated in the human brain. So the center is shifted toward the chest region rather than the belly. So around the heart region, about the heart, there is the center of the soul. So Allah, when He states in the Quran, are their hearts locked up, meaning the center of the soul. So Allah addresses the soul, addresses the soul of the human person, because the soul is the one that memorizes, links and accesses information. So we see the beauty and the magnificence of the Noble Quran and the superiority of the Noble Quran to current knowledge. Because people nowadays, with their modern knowledge, they are nowhere near to this, to understand this in the comprehensive manner we see from the Noble Quran. And if we think about the statement of Prophet Muhammad peace upon him, in one of his sayings, he says, the translation the following, that a man tells the truth until he is written as an honest man or a truthful man. And also a man says lies until he is written as a liar. So here in this narration of Prophet Muhammad upon him, he says that a person, we can learn from this narration, that a person, when he trains himself to say honest answers and to be truthful, then he will become truthful. How we can understand this in the light of this knowledge that I said? Now suppose that you have a computer and you put so many files, you train the computer to put good files. So when you want to access this information, the chances that you will get honest answers are high. For example, if a person, he trains his soul in saying everything truthful, so the chances when you ask that person that he will access a file which is truthful are high. Likewise, if a person trains himself to lie, then he has so many bad files. So when he's accessing these files in the future, the chances that he will say a lie are high. So we see the knowledge contained in the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. It's like a functional adaptation of the soul. If you adapt and you train the soul into good, the chances that you will access good files are high. But if you train the soul into bad and immorality and lies, then the chances that you will access bad files are high. And also Allah says in the Quran that the one who trains his soul into goodness, he will be successful. And the one who leaves it and he trains it into bad things, he will lose. What does this mean? If you train your soul into saying honest answers, being good, having high morals, then your chances that you will access good files are very high. On the other hand, if you train yourself into bad things, then the chances that you will do bad in all circumstances are very high. So to summarize what I said, is that Allah the Almighty teaches in the Quran that the human brain produces an electromagnetic field due to the input of the senses. This affects the electromagnetic field of the soul, it changes the architecture, and thus information is stored on your soul. And when you want to access the information, the soul accesses information, and the brain is used as a tool to say them. And this links to a very important fact about the resurrection of people. So when a person dies, his brain decays, and when he is resurrected on the Day of Judgment, he will remember all of his life. So if the memory was stored in the brain, the physical brain, then how can he understand or how can he remember his life? The only answer for this is if the memory is stored in the object that does not die, which is the energy of the soul. The soul does not die, the energy does not die, but the physical body decays. So we see, brothers and sisters, the superiority of the Noble Quran, and Allah the Almighty teaches us this, to use it, to strive to make the way of the Creator supreme. Allah God Almighty wants us to use this information and the superiority of the Noble Quran to bring people to the Quran, because so many people, they love knowledge. So when they find this in the Noble Quran, they want to know more and more about the Quran, and that would be a way for them to be guided to the path of Allah God Almighty. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@yahoo.com, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all.